Hey everybody, I want to talk about what I'm calling the universal pentatonic. And in this case, it's the minor pentatonic. Now, when I first started studying guitar, they I read that it was tuned in fourths. And at some point I realized it wasn't tuned in fourths because between 3 and 2, something happens. And so uh, it was tuned in fourths at one time. And so it was E, A, D, G, C, and F, which is the cycle of fourths. Now, if you don't know the cycle of fourths, that's probably something you want to look into because it's super helpful in figuring stuff out. And if you go the other way, it's a cycle of fifths, so it's fifths this way. And so when they tuned it to the cycle, the octave was 5 frets, so it was too hard to reach. So they lowered strings 1 and 2 1 fret, and that way the octave was reachable. And so there you go. Now, but it kind of interrupted the patterns there, and so now the if you're familiar with the Cage program, and that's a good thing to know too. So the Cage program has 5 forms of every chord, every scale, everything you want to know, and each one has 2 octaves. So it has 5 forms of the minor pentatonic. It has 2 octaves in each one. So there's really 10 patterns that you memorize. And hey, you get a backing track going or playing with your buddies, you play it for a while and you just get it memorized. It's not that hard. It's a lot of fun, actually. And but there's a lot of them. If it was tuned in fourths, then the pentatonic would only have 2 shapes. And so that's what I want to talk about. It's a little bit easier a whole lot easier to deal with 2 shapes as far as all the memory work goes. Incidentally, when you tune these two down to that, it's called a standard open tuning. And so it's not tuned in fourths because the last 2 guides have been lowered. And so when you are playing this universal pentatonic, the caveat is you got to look out for string 2. So let me get started here. I'm going to play what I'm going to call the 6-note block. Okay, so there's 6 notes there. The way you can locate it is you take finger 3 and you put it on any string with 2 adjacent strings. So I'm picking this note. This is an E. Okay, and so now if I play the 6-note block, got E right there. I don't know if you're familiar with 1, 4, and 5, the principal chords, but that's another thing you really want to know about. That makes stuff a lot easier as well. And so when you're playing blues, for instance, it only uses the principal chords. And so in this 6-note block, the root, and blues likes to resolve on the root. Okay, and so the root of the principal chords, all 3 of them are in fret 7 in this case. And so right there's the root for the 1 chord, root for the 4 chord, root for the 5 chord, and here's all the passing tones. And so if you wanted to lick for the 1 chord, end on that note. There's for the 4 chord, and there's for the 5 chord. And you can do whatever lick you want. And as long as you end it on the root, it winds up sounding good. Okay? And so now, there's something called movable chords and movable scales. And when they're talking about that, they're really referring to moving up and down the frets. Well, this is why I'm calling it the universal pentatonic. You can also move it across the strings with the caveat that you have to raise a 1 fret for string 2. So here's E minor pentatonic. If I move 1 string over, I got A minor pentatonic. Yep. If I move it over 1 more, I run into string 2, so I have to go up a fret and that's D minor pentatonic. Now, you really have one shape and you look out for string 2, but really there was 3 shapes there, 3 from the Cage program, if you will. And so you want to be able to know where 1, 4, and 5 are to resolve your licks, and you want to know where the root is so you can start it. So now, here's how we found the 6-note block one more time. We put finger 3 down with 2 adjacent strings, and that's the root. And then the guys on either side of him right there, those are the 4-chord and the 5-chord root. And then this is the passing tones right behind. And so, and when you move it this way, no problem. But when you move it this way, you got to add a fret for string 2. And also, I'm going to throw a note in there. It turns out to be kind of pivotal. It's the blue note. So it's right there on the edge of the 6th note. So that's where it is. You want to play him, let him ring out for a long time if you want to irritate people, but he sounds real cool if you use him right. Okay, so now I said there was 2 shapes, and so I said there was 2 shapes. So in this guy, you're going to, which I call the 4-note box, 4-fret box. Okay, you take finger 1 and you put finger 1 on the root. And the root, I'm picking E again, so it's going to be all the same notes. And the 4-note box, okay, and let's see. So 4-note box has 4 notes, so pentatonic has 5 notes in it. The 5th note is right here, and it's the same exact 3 notes. It's with the root, 4-chord root, and the 5-chord root, except they're under finger 1. And so if I want to resolve on the root, if I want to resolve on the 4-chord, if I want to resolve on the 5-chord, okay, and so it works that way. And the blue note is still right there. It's the same place it was for the 6-note block. So now, if we start going across the strings, you can move it up and down the frets. It's a movable scale, but you can also move it this way if you watch out for string 2. So instead of starting on E, I'm going to go down here and start on D, and I hadn't run into string 2, so it's going to be the same. And there's the 1, the 4, and the 5. So now I'll move it over one more time, and now we're on A. Move it over again, I'm on D. But now I come to string 2, so I have to move up. 4-note box, and then the 4-chord root and the half step. The blue note is a flat 5. So there's your 4-chord root, and there's your blue note right next to it. And the 5-chord root is above it. So if you want to resolve on the 5-chord, but you want to go up instead of down, there's that. Okay? And so 2 shapes, 6-note block, and the 4-note, 4-fret box. And you can take that all over the guitar as long as you find that note that you're calling the root with either finger 1 on the 4-fret box or finger 3 on the 6-note block. Okay, I made those names up just so we can refer to them, and they're a lot of fun, and you can just go up and down the neck. All you got to do is find the root and then apply the shapes. If it's finger 3, 6-note block. If it's finger 1, the 4-fret box. Have fun with it. It's a lot of fun. You can just go up and down. I saw this guy one time years ago. And he was just going up and down, and it just looked like so much fun. And he wasn't really figuring or straining or anything. And so I think you can do that with this. You can do it with the cage thing too. Somebody might like that better. Somebody might like this one better. I like them both. I tend to use this one a lot because, um, it's all laid out. I know where all in the cage thing, the root and the fifth and everything, it's kind of in different areas and different strings, and you have to find them or know where they are. And on this thing, they're all under finger 3 or they're all under finger 1, the roots to the 1, 4, and 5. Hey, I had fun talking about it. Have fun using it, I hope.